Hi, my name is Allison A. Hicks, and David C. Irons is our technical advisor. Tonight, we have a very special guest named Ron Branson. He is a writer, and he's from Los Angeles, sunny California. Our co-host, Stuntman Randy, is a Screen Actors Guild actor, and he will be co-hosting the show. And what we would like our main guest, Ron Branson, is to tell his story as a writer. Go from there. I don't want to tell his story because I don't know too much about it. So, Ron, could you introduce yourself?
Okay, as you stated, my name is Ron Branson. I got involved in the judicial system years ago when I was ignorant, and I didn't know. I thought judges were just, you could get a good one or a bad one. And I took an action in court, and I said, well, I got a bad judge. And I determined that on appeal, they're going to swallow his Adam's apple because they couldn't believe what would take place in the court below. So I realized that through experience that the appellate court was more corrupt than the trial courts were. And I realized that you don't get up through the court system promotions unless you are corrupt. And I had spent years, since 1981, I've been in the judicial system, and I experienced corruption after corruption after corruption. They say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing time after time and expecting a different result. Well, I finally, after years of battling in the court system and unbelievable corruption, I said that I couldn't be one in a million that's going through all of this. And having gone to the U.S. Supreme Court time after time after time, I decided we have to take some other action. And being a Christian man, a man whose dedication to Jesus Christ, I prayed about this. Lord, we can't run a country this way. And I prayed to the Lord about this, and he told me to turn to my computer. And these were early days of the computer system. I was only plugged in electrically, and I used my experience, years of experience, to write the Judicial Accountability Initiative Law. And that is the acronym of JAIL, J-A-I-L. And it became called Jail for Judges. And that's what our website is, jailforjudges.org. When I finished this on my little printer, and that's the days we had dot matrix, and it printed about 4 pages. And I took this thing into my hands, I turned my back to the computer, and I asked the Lord, I know you had me write this. What am I going to do with it? I have no name recognition. I have no money. I don't know what to do with this. And the Lord told me, Ron, you leave that to me. Little did I know in those days what the Lord was telling me was, Ron, we're going to make the other side spend their fortunes making us famous by opposing it. And back in those days, I wasn't connected to the internet. I would drive around through California and drop copies of it off around different groups, patriot groups, and trying to generate the interest to it. That was back. That was 1995, and we got it on. We actually had a fundraiser in 1996, Actually, back then it was actually called the Judicial Reform Act of 1996 before it became Jail for Judges. In 1999, the largest newspaper, legal newspaper in the country, they called me and interviewed me like we're doing here, and we wound up in the newspapers, and they gave us front page coverage.
What newspaper was that, Ron?
Pardon?
What newspaper was that?
That is called the Los Angeles Daily Journal.
Uh-huh. So there's actually a newspaper that's not totally corrupt out there. That's impressive.
Well, I think it was the reporter, which was Bloomberg, Peter Bloomberg. He was very interested in what I had
Wait,
written.
Peter Bloomberg?
Yes, Peter Bloomberg.
Peter Bloomberg.
Yes. He was out of the San Francisco office. He wasn't actually the local office here. They have different offices. And he called me from up in San Francisco area. And they gave me the front page of the Los Angeles Daily Journal. I had column after column. And it started right off with my name. It said, Ron Branson has taken on many judges in the judicial system. And now the beleaguered litigious litigant, that was a negative term, but I think he put it in so to kind of give the other side something to chew on, is now going directly to the people with the initiative process. I ended that article, by the time I wrote it down, several columns at the end of it, I said, the judges pretend that I don't exist. So anything I say can be ignored by the judicial system. But I said this is really like a man who is doing a split eagle, exposing his crotch, and I get unlimited kicks, and I can't say I'm out here because I don't exist, according to them.
You're lucky you're still alive.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh, but they're sick. They're not sick. They're vindictive.
Yeah. Well,
I think it fits the definition of
I
evil.
got called from state after state, starting with the state of Washington, and we had someone named Brad Goodspeed, and he says, Mr. Branson, can we do this up in the state of Washington? I said, well, Brad, we haven't got this accomplished in California yet. He said, well, can't we do it at the same time, simultaneous? And I hadn't thought about that. I thought it was just California matter for the time being. So he introduced me to the idea that maybe we could do this across the nation. So I adapted the thing for the state of Washington. Then there was the state of Georgia. Then there was Alabama. And we started to pick up state after state after state until we had covered the entire country. And when I say covered the entire country, meaning that there was a head person, and I called him then the head of state, that was in charge of leading this cause, which I assume that we're talking about right here for Michigan. And
well, actually, all over the
Michigan's
country.
getting much worse.
We have people from
2006.
Georgia. We have people from Michigan. We have people from Arizona online as we're speaking tonight.
Wyoming. If you happen to know a judge named Judge Donahue, with Michael Manning as an attorney.
I don't.
Okay. I just wondered. I want to throw that out.
I know the name Michael Manning. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, in 2006, we had a gentleman in South Dakota who had a bit of money, and he decided to finance getting jail for judges on the ballot in South Dakota. He tossed in $140,000, I guess it was, something like $130,000 or $140,000, and he paid for a signature company to acquire all the signatures we needed to qualify for getting on the ballot. When that happened, the system just went into shock. They couldn't believe that somebody would give us enough attention to make us legitimate. That was Bill Stedmeyer. We needed 33,500 signatures, which is 1/50th of what we need in California. So he finally us getting 48,000 signatures. So we had more signatures than we needed. And that meant it was going to go on the ballot, and the people were going to vote on Gail for Judges, South Dakota. By the way, you can see the documentation on this if you go to the website SD for South Dakota dash jailforjudges.org. It's our sister site.
Can you repeat that again? Could you repeat that website again?
Right. Repeat
Yeah,
that.
it's like South Dakota, SD dash. And the rest of it just like our jailforjudges.org.
Okay.
Jail 4, it's a 4. Not F-O-R, but the number 4.
The
And,
number 4.
Yes, the number 4. So you're talking about SD dash jail 4 judges.org.
Okay.
When we got this thing on the ballot in South Dakota, all hell broke loose. Even though their constitution states that the initiative process cannot be interfered with by any civil or military means, all of the legislators, both Democrats and Republicans, both houses, which would be equivalent to the Senate and our Assembly, there was 105 total, were all opposing this. They converted their capital in Pierre into a campaign office to fight against Gail for Judges. This is a criminal act, even according to their own laws, because if anybody uses government funding, tax money, to oppose a state initiative, it is a criminal act of which you could go to jail for. But the problem was, I had all 105 legislators against Gail for Judges. Governor Rounds was the governor of the state against Gail for Judges. David Davidson, the Chief Justice of the state of California, of South Dakota, was against Gail for Judges. And Larry Long, who was the state attorney general, he was against Gail for Judges. They had employed the use or benefited from the use of bringing in the oil companies, the banks, and the insurance companies to fight against this measure. Essentially, Gail for Judges in South Dakota became the predominant issue, more than whether any of the people running for office there would get elected or not. And by using their money and flooding the airwaves, they made me out to be a villain of South Dakota and of the people. They converted this, they said what Gail for Judges was about, and Mr. Branson, when they let all the felons out of prison, to go after the jurors that convicted them and get them thrown in prison. And that's what people were voting on. I mean,
They really pulled out all the stops to go after you, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, I wouldn't have supported that. I had the media calling me and they said, well, Mr. Branson, can you define what is meant by judges in this initiative? And I told him it's the judges that sat on the bench. And the lady reporter says, well, that's not what they're telling us in South Dakota. I said, ma'am, I wrote the initiative. You're talking to the person who wrote it. You're asking what my intent was. I'm telling you. And she said, well, that's not what they're saying in South Dakota.
I have to bring in Stuntman Randy right now because I'm from Michigan. Stuntman Randy is an actor, and he's a Screen Actors Guild, ASTRA, and he's not a politician. And he's an average American that's listening to the show, and he's probably astounded by what they're doing. Randy, could I
let me just tell you.
I want your opinion.
All we have to do is win in any one state, and we have gained the whole country. And the reason being is we can't have one state that is obeying the Constitution and accountable to it, and the other 49 that can ignore it. It won't happen. It all falls together. It's like pulling out, it's a house of cards. You pull out the card that causes a whole total collapse. It's very piteously. You talk to the Patriots and they think about how difficult and how hard it is to regain our country. Well, the point I'm making and trying to get across to people is the whole foundation of this thing is so shaky, it's about to collapse. And when you pull out the right card, it does collapse. And that's what jail for judges does. For instance, I'll use it the point. Article 1, Section 10, it says, no state shall make anything other than gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt. Meaning, government, whenever they ask payment for you, whether it be for a license plate, driver's license, property tax, or whatever, the only thing you can pay in and they can demand is gold and silver coin. That's required under the U.S. Constitution, which every constitution in the Union honors the U.S. Constitution as the supreme law of the land. Now, if jail passes, all you have to do is wait until the government bills you on anything, and you say, what thing are you demanding payment in? They're not going to tell you, well, you have to pay in gold and silver coin, but that's the only thing they can do. Now, let's say Michigan, if you were to get jail for judge passed, and the only thing in Michigan they could demand payment for of taxes would be in gold and silver coin, you can see what a perplexity this would cause for the state. What would have to happen is the legislature would have to order their state attorney general to bring a suit against Congress and the Federal Reserve Bank system, because Congress is mandated to coin money and regulate the value thereof. And the only thing that can coin money on is gold and silver coin. And
Ron, I don't think our average listener totally understands the Federal Reserve and how that has really affected our quality of life here in the United States. You've hit on something that's very important and maybe a little subtle for a lot of our listeners.
So much.
That's why
overcrowding prisons. Overcrowding, it's become a big business.
Yes. Well, let me point out to you on that issue. Of all nations of the world, the United States is by far is the highest per capita prison population. Out of all the 50 states, the state that has the highest per capita prison population was South Dakota. I didn't know this until I took on South Dakota, and they said I was trying to relieve the the prisoners out of prison. I was wondering why they were bringing this thing up. I did a little research and then I had a little help, and I found that South Dakota, of all states, it has the biggest part of its population is in the prisons. And
Randy, are you with us still?
I'm still with you listening, yes, Allison. I'm here.
Okay.
They were seen in jail for judges with a threat to their empire. Well, they made fun of me, mocked me, and everything like this. But right now, the media is saying that their cost of maintaining their prisons is overburdening, and they're going bankrupt because they have so many prisoners per capita in the state of South Dakota. So I was inadvertently, unknown to me, taking on an issue that they were trying to protect. And it's now become obvious what they were doing, and now we know even what the result is. They got to start relieving prisons, and they were accusing me of trying to let the prisoners out. Now they're talking about it because they can't afford it.
Yeah, think about the burden that is putting on the taxpayers of South Dakota. What does it cost to keep somebody in prison? What, $40,000 a year? It varies from state to state, but it's enormous. It's several times what it would cost to send somebody to college.
Yeah.
And the social value, the social loss of that.
Well,
oftentimes you don't consider what would that person contribute if they were not locked up in a cage.
Yeah, I found out that one of the senators, predominant senators, was in charge of all of the, we call it canteens for candies and drinks and stuff like that. They had all the machines and all of the. He was making a huge killing off of this as a senator.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio?
I'm sorry, right?
That's what's going on in
Joe
Arizona.
Arpaio, Tent City?
That's in Arizona. We're talking about South Dakota.
I'm saying it's the same situation going on there with
Same.
this, running these businesses, these
Right.
homes of in there.
He owns all the vending machines. Every.
Right. Well, that's what was going on in South Dakota. By the way, when we first started and got this thing on the ballot, and people were hearing about this, we had 67% of the voters in favor of jail for judges. There was 19% that was opposed. Those 19 were mostly all, about 20% of all government, of all population are government employees. So it's basically the government versus the people. By the time they propagandized everybody, they even said that I hated America, I hated our founding fathers. They said that I was of the ilk of the man who shot and killed a federal agent in North Dakota. All kinds of things. They even made a DVD supposedly of myself as being a unshaven person with a hat over their eyes, a coat, and looking in women's, looking in like a peeping Tom and stuff like this. That's how they tried to portray me. What they caught on to, because I am in North Hollywood, they grabbed that word Hollywood, and there's no relationship. They grabbed that word Hollywood, and they said, we don't need Hollywood in South Dakota. We're a bunch of farmers.
Well, why don't they go for the drug dealers, the rockers? They know where they live. I was in Chicago, and I went on a radio show. And you know what? I sat there and I go, Joe Arpaio knows where they're at. And he wants the world to go around. Because if they didn't have those hotels, and if they didn't have the hooks, they didn't have the drugs, the crack, the crystal meth, and I got to get my word in here, then they wouldn't put those people in jail because they can't get the money to get out. And I'm telling you the truth. They want the people that go 2 miles an hour over the speed limit and maybe go have a good time one night a week and pay $500,000 or something like that. I might, that might have been a big figure. David knows me. But
Well, by the time they finished in South Dakota propagandizing everybody, we did not even get the votes of the numbers of people who had signed on that we want to vote on judicial accountability. We had 48,000 people that signed up, and that 48,000 did not even vote. Not all of
Now,
them.
isn't that
40,000
a
voted.
weird thing? Because as you said, there was virtually no opposition for the jail for judges law. How in the
It
world
wound up
could they
it wound
possibly
up
have
in
flipped the vote like that?
in the
you know
actual
what?
vote.
When our movie comes out and it's a visual, which is coming out, from New Zealand, because no one will do it. They're afraid of Joe Arpaio. Can you chip in here, Randy?
Well, yeah, they're all fearing him out here for sure to control him, the fear he puts into everybody.
He will kill your dog.
He'll do more than that. He'll take you to do the same, but which he has done to many.
Can you imagine more than killing your dog?
It comes back to like you're saying, it's all about the money, and I don't know.
He's in the mafia. He's a Sicilian. He's a sicko. I put him in an article after article after article. I hate Joe Arpaio.
Allison, do you have a question for our guest? I'm not sure where this is going.
What do you think of Joe Arpaio and his media frenzy?
I don't think Ron really knows Joe Arpaio.
I don't.
Okay, but you know why we have this. Why we've changed the subject. I do want to put in a little bit about Ron Branson. I've been following Ron Branson for a number of years. I've been receiving his newsletter. He's a prolific writer, and he does say that the Jail for Judges was inspired, and I have no reason not to believe that. This, for all those people out there that have kids or parents or relatives are in jail right now, and you're fighting corrupt judicial system, if you're trying to fight the IRS and find out why it is that a notice of lien can be a substitute for an actual lien, if you're shocked at the judicial system and you're running out of ideas and what to do about it, this is a real solution.
And a real solution is Judge Donahue was a psychiatrist turned judge, and he was wrongfully convicted. Michael Manning took his case.
I'm not sure that I follow you.
We have to realize that the problem is not with any one judge. The entire system itself is corrupt beyond repair. And this is why it is absolutely necessary that we, the people, directly have direct control over the judges. And what Jail for Judges does is it creates a special citizens independent grand jury that holds judges accountable. Once you go through the judicial system, you have to bring an action just like you normally do, and when you get to the state Supreme Court and you hit the end, now you can bring an action for willful refusal to adhere to the Constitution and or the laws. Federal
Well, what-
Constitution of the state.
Finally.
Yeah, I'm glad Ron
Okay.
you that, because that's people listening out there
Look,
are
look,
thinking,
look,
well,
look
Jennifer
at
does
my look at my website, saxtonmymovie.com. See 39 videos of people that have been corrupted, and you'll notice that you will see people that were DOs, detention officers, that stuck up. Who was our last guest? Mr. Barrett. His son is on death row.
Vera.
And Adele. My gosh. He framed him, and his son is on death row.
I'm going to use an illustration to get across the point here.
Thank you.
We have a flamethrower, a guy with a flamethrower walking down the middle of the street. He turns to the right, he pulls the trigger, and shoots a flame, and it envelops his house on fire. And the guy comes running out, and he's yelling, help me, my house is on fire. The guy turns around to the other side, on the other side of the street, pulls the trigger, and he sets that house on fire. And that guy comes out and says, you got to help me. My house is on fire. He walks up about 50 feet to the next house, 2 houses, and does the same thing. Everybody is trying to put their own fire out. What we have to do is forget about what we individually are suffering. No matter how ill it is, we have to take down the guy who's got the flamethrower. He's going to burn down the whole town.
You mean like Nazi?
Well said.
We have to divorce ourselves from our own. You have to realize that
the old
the
German
problem is not
Nazi.
ours.
We have to stop it.
So here's the thing. We got to get off the idea of Judge so-and-so is a bad judge. I know when people call me up and they talk about their judge, I know I'm talking with a novice right off the beginning. The problem is
Judge
our
Donahue
whole-
was the best judge. He was the best judge in the world.
okay, people tell me about good judges. Not all judges are bad. Well, the problem is this. The judges, the judicial system, has developed a doctrine called judicial immunity. I know of one old judge that's taking on that damnable doctrine. The judges are immune from obedience to the Constitution and to the laws.
Not according to Will Williams, or whatever his name was. Dave, remember the guy that we interviewed with?
Bill Windsor.
Windsor. You can sue a public defender, you can sue a judge, you can sue a prosecutor. People are ignorant. If I had known I met Bill Windsor, I would have sued Jamie Nolan, I would have sued Terry Clark, I would have sued judges today.
The problem you must realize is when you say sue, what happens is every suit goes before a judge who's covered by judicial immunity. I used to sue the government. I go into court, and every time the judge would rule in favor of the government. And I said, the problem isn't bad government or corrupt government. It's the judges.
It's not
And
illegal.
so I would sue Judge A and take him in front of Judge B. Judge B invariably will say, you can't sue Judge A. He's a judge and he's covered by judicial immunity. Now, of course, he won't say, just like I am, but it's a doctrine. We are at war with a doctrine. On one hand, they raise the right hand, or at least they allegedly raise the right hand and swear by an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies of foreign and domestic. But yet, on the other hand, they developed this doctrine that says, I am a judge. I cannot be sued for any violations of the Constitution or of any laws of this of the
they
state.
lie. They lie. They lie. They lie. They lie.
But the thing is, you're going to argue that in front of another judge who also believes that same lie.
Unless they're a 5 or 6'5". I won't name the color, but they might go off in the jail and kill one of their DOs, and then they're going to let them go.
You are assuming that the judges are fearful of.
They are. They're
being-
going to take a little 100-pound girl and put her in jail for a crime they didn't commit.
That you have to. You're looking at this as a fight from a physical combat. It's a spiritual
Because
warfare.
I didn't do anything wrong.
I have sued a number of judges, and I will tell you, it always has been that the judge always decides that you cannot sue the other judge.
Do you know
And
what my
That's why I wrote for judges.
Want to know what my therapist said? He said my judge should be scrubbing through the dirt off of Burger King. He knew I was right. He knew that the probation officers should be doing less than housework, working, flipping burgers in McDonald's. I have notes beyond belief.
Allison, do you have another solution other than what Ron Branson has? I hear an awful lot of talk about what's wrong with the judicial system. I don't see anybody with any answers.
A visual movie called Daxton, where Randy Stuntman is in charge.
Here's the thing: publicity is good, but what the publicity has to do.
Randy, what's the name of your part?
He's playing Deputy Anthony Rogers, who was very, very corrupt under Sheriff Joe. But now, I mean, you're talking to Ron here. So this corruptness is every state we go to. I mean, what does a Sheriff Joe or a crooked judge or whatever, every state, I don't know, you know, it's so wide, it's so out there. You know, us out here and the listeners out here maybe don't quite understand how, I don't know, how nationwide this is, how bad it is. And I don't know, maybe we could explain that a little more. Maybe Ron could elaborate on that.
I want to tell you something. People, even intelligent people that have some inkling of an idea what we're dealing with, they don't even scrape the depths of the wickedness. You know, in the Bible, it talks about the mystery of iniquity.
Yes.
Well, we're talking about the mystery of
Witch
iniquity.
Project.
Allison, we're talking to Ron Branson. We are interviewing Ron Branson, and we keep getting off the subject.
He asked me a question. How can we solve the problem? By making a worldwide movie.
Awareness.
Okay. I would like to respond to that. A worldwide movie has to have as a pinpoint what we have to do about the problem, and that is where Jail for Judges comes in. I would agree with the movie, but it's going to have to be pinpointed as to what we do, what we have to do. I have used the illustration. Maybe have you ever heard of Aaron Russo? He was the movie producer.
Sure.
He produced a
Freedom
movie.
to Fascism.
Yeah, he produced a movie called I'm Mad as Hell and I'm Not Going to Take It Anymore.
Yep.
Okay, I was in the audience when that movie was being produced back in 1996.
Okay,
The problem
what
with
if,
people is,
what if we had the money to produce a movie to show the corruption?
You know, that's my question, Ron.
but-
Is awareness going to help on this? Is that what we need? Is awareness to everybody? I mean, some people have not gone through these situations. They watch the news every day. Everything's fine. You know, unless a son or a daughter or themselves go through a situation and find and experience this corruptness, they're not aware of it. So, Ron, to make awareness, what is the best way to let these people know what's going on?
you know, if people are unaware of how corrupt it is or that we have a need for a remedy, then that's where the movie comes in. However, if we are going to establish a system by which we make the judges accountable to us, that's where Jail for Judges comes in. And that's the
Right.
problem I had with Aaron Russo. He was a friend of mine, but he couldn't grasp the concept. He was
We
where we're
could put it
talking
in
right
the
now.
movie.
He was exposing the corruption, but he didn't have an answer. And that's what I always see. They will not find an answer, and I'm going to repeat this. They will not find an answer until they listen to what I'm telling them.
We could put it in a trailer.
There you go. Trailers are good.
I mean, what,
something right quick?
Ron, what are you thinking?
Let me tell you something. I told you that Bill Stedmeyer spent $130,000 or $140,000
That's a
into.
waste of money. You can do it with
No,
high
no, it
school.
wasn't. No, it
High
wasn't.
school
a waste of
kids
money.
would do it
No,
for free.
That's what
intern.
That's what I'm going to say. He spent $140,000.
He wasted his money.
We got millions of dollars worth of publicity out of that. That was such a marvelous investment. They made Jail for Judges known all over this nation. Even I had the extension of the U.S. Supreme Court. You remember Sandra Day O'Connor?
Yes, yes.
Sandra Day O'Connor, she retired from the U.S. Supreme Court in that year, 2006. You know what she did when she got stepped down? Now, the reason she stepped down, which I agree, was her husband was ill, and she wanted to give attention to him. But she spent her time attacking me. She got the attention as a Supreme Court justice. When she spoke, the media listened. She was trying to expose Jail for Judges in the Wall Street Journal. That's a nationwide known, not only nationwide, it's internationally known newspaper. She was attacking Jail for Judges. She named it Jail for Judges. And guess what? As a result of that,
we're running out of time.
as a
How
result
can
of
we
that,
make some money?
as a result of that, CNN called me and said, Mr. Branson, we are going to have Sandra Day O'Connor on the air. Would you like to come on the air and oppose her, be the other side? I said, I'd love to. I was called to go down over the hill here into Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. They wired me up, and I got to address the whole nation. Do you know how much all this advertisement cost me? Think for a moment. How much all this advertisement cost me? Nothing. Nothing. I got all kinds of free advertisement. And I said to the nation, I said, these judges expect that we should obey the law. And these judges raise their right hand and swear by an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and yet they say, I'm a judge, I have judicial immunity, you cannot sue me. I'm not accountable for my actions or whatever I do. I got to say this to the whole world. It didn't cost me anything. Guess what happened as a result of that? I got contacted by the Los Angeles Times. The lady on the phone says, Mr. Branson, I'm Jessica Garrison, a reporter for Los Angeles Times. She said to me, do you know who Ronald George is? And I said, sure. He's the Chief Justice of the state of California. And she said, that's right. I just got off the phone talking with him, and he knows me. And I said, I'm very, very impressed. But I said, you know that he's already in the media saying that I'm out to destroy this wonderful judicial system we have in the state of California. Now, which among the patriots, who have gotten all that free advertisement? That all cost me nothing. You got to think smart. We want them to spend their money. And that's what the Lord was telling me, but I didn't hear it that way. He said,
Randy, would you like to make a movie?
He was telling me, God was telling me, we're going to make them spend all of their millions of dollars trying to fight you.
I'm playing tennis with Jennifer.
Please stop interrupting our guest, Allison. Ron's trying to talk.
We have 5 minutes.
I think we can see, though, that the power of Hollywood, it comes in and how it works. Like you've got this advertising.
I'm playing tennis with a girl that's going to invest in the movie. Would you like...
Okay, Ron, what were you saying?
Yeah, we have to think smart. And unfortunately, the Patriot movement has been fighting to get the attention of the media. They try to get their attention, and basically the media ignores them. Well, I found out the way to deal with it is to have the media chase you down and say, can we interview you? And that's what happens with getting Jail for Judges on the ballot. I will be called by every kind of newspaper asking my opinion about this and that. That's what happened in South Dakota. I got all kinds. I got millions of dollars worth of free advertisements. They were coming to me, asking me for comments, just like we're talking here. And we're talking about the major media. I mentioned to you the Wall Street Journal. Now, that's not just a pass-out paper. I mentioned CNN. That's worldwide, coverage. Los Angeles Times, one of the biggest newspapers in the country. I got that all free. And I couldn't tell you all of the newspapers, even the legal magazines. The Bar Association was, asking questions and things like this. That's the way we turn it around. They come to us and ask us. When we get Jail for Judges on the ballot, then we have a voice.
Tremendous. Hey, Ron, perhaps you could talk a little bit about, talk to our listeners about what they can do to help implement Jail for Judges in their own home state. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all 50 states started adopting Jail for Judges?
Okay, to get an initiative on the ballot in an initiative state, it's required that you obtain the requisite number of signatures. Usually it's 8% of the people who voted in the last gubernatorial election. That means those who voted for the governor the last time they had it, 8% of those. There's a signature threshold you have to acquire. Once you get that, you go on the ballot. And I'm going to tell you, you will have immense media attention just by accomplishing that. Now, how do you get these signatures? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. Number one, you can have volunteers to go out there and get them. You got a time limitation, take a little dedication, you can get those signatures and put it on the ballot. Or you can have someone who comes up, or a number of people comes up with the money, and we can hire the gathering of the signatures, put it on the ballot. Or a combination of the two. When we get the signatures, it goes on the ballot, and I'm going to tell you, I'm telling you from experience, all hell breaks loose because they realize, and I'm saying they, our opponents, realize how detrimental this is to what they're trying to bring about in this country. they fear jail for judges. They just hope that it would just die. Well, I'm not letting it die. I don't have a big voice now, but I did, I did back then. And I say that the Patriots fell down because what the system wanted to do was for jail for judges to lose so big, it was 11 to 89%, that all the Patriots would go into the woodwork and say, well, we can't do that again. No, that is Achilles' heel. They were so afraid of jail for judges. And that's why I even brought in the oil companies, the banks, and the insurance companies to spoil the minds of the people. The people have to realize that the government is not their friends. They're their enemies. But see, they don't know that. Now that's where a media comes in. I mean, a movie or something. Bill Winter is producing a movie which I would hope it will, educate people how bad things are. You have to know there's a problem before you look at the cure.
Well, we plan on having a whole series of movies on Backspin, and a number of guests that we've had on have been victims of judicial corruption, and any one of them would make a spectacular movie. As a matter of fact, your story just might make a pretty good made-for-TV movie. There's a possibility. As a suggestion, one thing that people can do, which I found to be very successful in the past, is to simply get out on the street corner in the morning when people are heading for work and pass out cups of coffee. I know somebody won their House of Representatives election that way by simply having a sign that says, "Wake up and smell the coffee." And just simply pass out cups of coffee to people without trying to proselytize, and just make sure that people can see your sign. Jail for judges, sign the petitions here. It's hard to identify who the opposition is because everybody seems to be in favor of this.
I'd like to make a proposal to you to deal with this seriously. Okay. If we pick a state such as South Dakota, like North Dakota or Nebraska or someplace like that, we would need approximately $200,000. Now, to me, that seems a lot of money because I have never seen that kind of money. The question is, are people concerned enough for this country that they can pool together $200,000 and we can put this on the ballot in some state?
It's only a $1 million movie. I played tennis on Friday with Jennifer Wheeland, and
I've been on all kinds of shows over the years.
David's cut me off, so
you say you have.
You know what? You know what? It doesn't matter anymore.
We will get the media attention. We will have the publicity. You have to understand, rather than trying to strive to get their attention, by putting it on the ballot, they will come to us. They will come to us and
worked.
money that they're willing to invest. And the route is not by spending it all into publicity or making movies. If we put jail for judges on the ballot somewhere in this country, we will have more publicity than we can, I won't say more than we can handle. It will be inundated with the big media. I guarantee it. And I'm convinced that if somebody can come up with serious money, that we can put this thing on the ballot. There are companies that exist for the purpose of collecting signatures. I've had people tell me there's about 4 companies here in California. They say, "You got the money, we'll get the signatures, that it will be on the ballot." The problem is, most of us are just talking about, kind of like we want to do something. Yes, I understand the frustration. I call it the mad as hell. I'm not going to take anymore. But if if there's anybody that's got some serious money, I need to talk to them.
You know, Ron, I just wanted to ask, and for the listeners too, like, if this money was there, what state would you pick? Would it be California that we would do this, or would we do this somewhere else?
Well, California is kind of the optimum of the cause. If we're going to take it on big, it'd be California. If we got an inexhaustible source, here it costs just about $2 million. Be serious. Another state, we could probably take it on for $200,000. So that's what we're looking at. Even if we get our foot in the door, it's like sales technique. If this got passed in South Dakota, it would have already taken this country down.
Yeah, I think, you know, California interests me in this whole thing of starting it there. I have more connections in California, Hollywood, and I know you do also.
Well, I think there are some people I'm in communications with that are spending on a pot of money. But I can't force them to come forward to it. I can only encourage them and try to convince them this is something we have to do for the sake of our country. It's the idea here, we have to realize it's not that we die rich with all the wealth that we've accumulated. Are we willing to do as our founding fathers, and we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor? That's what we're dealing with here.
Yes, uh-huh. Yes.
Well, you know, I think there actually is money available, and there are people all over the country who are selling their houses. They're putting up their life savings. They are sacrificing everything they can to fight this corrupt judicial system. If they were to put a small portion of that money into helping jail for judges, they would really be doing something towards that end. I agree, reforming the system.
I will be willing to have a hands-off of any of the monies. I don't want controls of the money. Whoever, you can have a secretary, treasurer that handles all that. I would like to manage the cause of how we spend that money. And those who, of course, contribute, have a voice in suggesting. I was asked here, what state would I pick? Well, if we have a lack of money, I mentioned possibly North Dakota, possibly Nebraska. They're good states. Believe me, we will get all kinds of media attention if we put this thing on the ballot with the money we pull together.
Well, I would like to put that on the ballot here in Michigan, and I know I have enough associates that would be highly motivated to put jail for judges on the ballot right here.
Okay, let me start on that. What you need to do is contact your Secretary of State, ask them for the paperwork on sponsoring a state initiative. You should be, they'll have a booklet to tell you how many signatures you have to have, etc. Usually, now here in California, we have to post $200, which is no problem with that, to send to Secretary of State, and the State Attorney General reviews it and makes a write-up as to what he believes that this will accomplish. And in Michigan, I don't know how they work there, but you first start off the paperwork on the initiative process. How many signatures do you need? Okay, now you know a straight figure. These have to be good signatures. These aren't just people who are willing to sign. They have to be legitimate, valid signatures. Once we qualify with that within the time period, they all have time periods to them. You qualify within that time period, it goes on the ballot. And I can tell you right then, we have hit the media attention. I mean, big time.
Which we're all trying to do, and get, I think, for our purpose here in this. You know, even myself, I'm an actor, but I'm spiritually driven to see this change done, to make change, to stop this corruptness, you know. And, but my question, I guess, would be that would Michigan be the place? Would California, which is going to give us more attention from the media, do you think?
You know, I think we should set our sights high. Why not have this initiative in all 50 states?
There you go. Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed the point. What was that again?
I say let's, instead of setting our sights low and just saying let's just have this done in South Dakota or in a small state and shame the rest of the states into adopting something like this. Maybe we should go for broke. Maybe we should attack this and say in 2016 we're going to have this on the ballot in all 50 states. I think that would be a worthwhile goal to set for ourselves to do
that.
That
would be marvelous.
Well, there are enough people out there that have been taken by the system, and I find that when it comes to trying to work for politics, people are frustrated. They wave signs in front of the White House, or they wave signs in front of the state capitol, and they get nothing done. But where people can really change their lives is by changing their court system right in your own hometown, right there where you live. If you just simply go into the courts and you act as a witness, that changes the outcome of that court system. This is something that there are many people that would be interested in getting on board. Jail for Judges is something that they can understand. It's something that we can see the immediate benefits of, and once people are aware of it, as you said, the only opposition seems to be the people that have a vested interest in keeping our courts corrupt, which is essentially attorneys and those people that work as part of that system and see that as part of their livelihood, keeping the corrupt court system.
I would like to address your statement now at this point.
Please.
In this country, not all of the states are initiative states. There are just under half of the states that are actually initiative states, and some of them are not really real states. I think as a practical matter of what you said, we could take on 1/3 of all the country, the 50 states. We could take on about 1/3 of them if money was not the prohibitive. We could do that, but I don't think we could. The other states there's non-initiative states. They have to go to their representatives to get this thing passed. That'll never happen. I think
that Ron Paul raised $6 million in 24 hours one time. People are willing to contribute when they see that something is really important and really can change things. This is one of those things that is possible. It can be done.
I'm an individual, and I would be willing to invest money if I felt this thing was going to do something, make change, or, I can imagine there's a lot more of me out there.
I am conscious of what you mentioned on Ron Paul, and I have to tell you that I kind of shake my head when we have, I think it was like $18 million that was set out to get him reelected. And I thought within myself, we could turn around this nation with that money. We could have done that. As it was, of course, I would have voted for Ron Paul, but he wasn't available for me to even to vote for. Yes, I do believe there's money out here. If the people understand what it is we are trying to do, most people concentrate on the existing system, i.e., we have to get so-and-so elected to office. I was in the Second Amendment group down in Culver City, and they had all these politicians getting up there talking about why they should be voted in to Congress. They wanted to write some good gun laws. At the end of this presentation, the moderator said, "We're through with the program. If anybody wishes to take 5 minutes and speak to the audience, they can come forward." I jumped to my feet, went up there, and I said, what I heard here tonight was why we should vote for different politicians. Supposedly it's because they're going to write good gun laws. You know, I propose that we have a good gun law, something that says something like, people keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And I paused dramatically and I said, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Where have I heard that from? Oh, that's the Second Amendment. And when was that written? That was written over 200 years ago. And here we are still talking about the definition of what does that mean, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. I said, has it ever dawned on you that the judges do understand what it means, but they're not going to adhere to it? I said, do you think you're going to write a good gun law and the judges are going to say, oh, no, I understand it. It means that people have a right to keep guns. Yes, you're right. I misunderstood. That's not what it's about. And when I finished there, I expected somebody to come up to me and say, Mr. Branson, open my eyes, or to say, you are kicking against the prick. Nobody's doing anything. The point is, people concentrate on existing measures. If we keep doing the same things that we've always done, we'll always get the same results we have always gotten. Jail for judges is totally different. It proposes something that we've never done in this country before. Totally different. That's why we have to get our eyes off of getting certain individuals elected to office. It's not about who's going to get, whether we're Republican or Democrat or get this person elected. The point is, we have to have, the people, sitting in grand juries, have to hold these judges accountable on the doctrine of judicial immunity.
Well, that's well said, and I think that we should set our goals on doing just that. You say that this concept of yours was divinely inspired, and I have no reason not to believe that. And this is the best proposal I have seen, and the most likely one to work. In fact, if you really examine what we did, that was a great success in South Dakota. I see that they're trying to discourage us and trying to give the impression that it was a disaster. It wasn't. The people in South Dakota woke up and they saw how corrupt the judicial system is, and they voted for it. I think what actually happened in South Dakota was they used the Diebold voting machines to flip the vote, and it's always been. We've already had testimony in front of Congress that it's possible to do that. Just by changing the software in the machine, you can change a yes vote into a no vote. And oddly enough, we had about 80%, according to the polls, were in favor of the Judicial Accountability Act, and 20% opposed. And when the election came in, it seemed to be 80% in favor or 80% opposed and 20% in favor. Isn't that a coincidence?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's the thing. If we can gather the sum that we need to be a serious contender for this, I would like to steer and keep my hands off any funds. I don't want to be even look like I'm after people's money. I don't want to do that. I want to steer the cause. I want to guide the ship. But we have to have some propulsion before you can steer it. You can't steer a non-moving vehicle or a non-moving ship.
Well, we need to have some organizational skills involved in putting this thing together. There needs to be a state coordinator in every state where we are attempting to pass this initiative. And it seems like a good way to get started would be to start with volunteers using their own time and their own resources, just simply putting out signatures on street corners. And the most effective means of reaching people is always face-to-face, touching flesh, talking to people, meeting with people individually. And this is the sort of thing that catches people's attention. If we just simply had people passing out coffee at street corners in the morning and have a sign that says, "Wake up and smell the coffee," and a sign that says, "Jail for judges," and just very nicely pass out coffee without trying to proselytize, and answers people's questions, and give people the opportunity to sign that petition, that would be enough to start raising awareness. If we were to, raising $200,000 is a small amount compared to an election campaign. It's a teeny amount. Mostly we could get this started with just simply volunteer labor and just perhaps some printing costs. We want to make sure that this is done correctly. There have been a couple of petitions that have been derailed because somebody claims that the font on the petition was not a .12 font, and or they claim that they used photocopies and they should have used originals. So we want to make sure that there's somebody in every state that can oversee this operation, make sure that it's done correctly, that the petition is okayed by the right agencies, that we do this absolutely correctly and according to the law. But once this thing gets started, I don't think it could be stopped. And in fact, I think it's already been started. We just need to continue on with the momentum. Are we in agreement?
Yes, we are. I believe that you said it very well there, David. I think that's what needs to be done. Ron has a very good plan there. I still think, though, that there's those other people that are out there that I say that have not, they haven't woken up, or they have not realized the situation or how bad things really are right now.
Well, there's an awful lot of people that may not realize what needs to be done in the political arena, but in the judicial arena, there seems to be less people that are confused about this false left-right dichotomy. When we're talking about politics, conservative and liberal means something entirely different. It means a political philosophy. But when we're talking about law, the term conservative and liberal means something entirely different. Conservative means that you follow the letter of the law, that the judges do not write the law themselves. That is up to the legislator. It is the judge's duty to simply follow the law. And a liberal interpretation of the law is to say that judges are enlightened people and they should be given the power to be able to decide for themselves whether or not the law applies or whether it applies in certain circumstances. And I think when you put it that way, most people will agree with that. And in fact, I think that it's really not a matter of the liberals versus the conservatives, because frankly, I think we're going to find both people on both ends of the political spectrum that are going to be very much in favor of this. And I expect we're going to find just as many liberal Democrats as there are conservative Republicans that think that this is extremely important. And I don't want to require that people have to agree with me on every aspect of every political question, because this is outside the political arena. This is something that should be couched in terms of the Constitution. Does the Constitution say that we have a Bill of Rights, that we have a right to trial by jury, that we have a right to due process, that we have a right not to be put into debt slavery? That's the 13th Amendment. If so, then clearly our rights have been violated, and are violated every day. And people that have been exposed to the court system are shocked. They're completely shocked by what they see in the court system. And virtually everybody's been touched by it. Everybody has got somebody that they love in jail, or somebody who's lost their family, or lost their farm. They've lost a family member. Virtually everybody has been touched by this corrupt court system. And I think virtually everybody can see the benefit of having to restoring rule of law in this country. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about restoring the Constitution. We're talking about rule of law, and people is completely divergent as the Civil Liberties Union and the John Birchers, all agree that we need to return to the Constitution. That's something that there's virtually nobody. There's no organized opposition to jail for judges, and we can see right now that states are starting to assert their rights. Now, this may be a little bit controversial. Maybe not everybody agrees with it, but there have been marijuana initiatives all over the United States, and people may well disagree about whether or not marijuana is a good thing, whether or not it should be used for recreational purposes, but the vast majority of people think that at least for medical purpose, there's this herb that's terribly useful, and the vast majority of people think that it should be available to people that need it for medicinal purposes. And there's virtually no opposition to that. All over the country, marijuana initiatives are being passed. There was one in Michigan, and it would pass by a 2/3 majority, and virtually every county in the state of Michigan voted for medical marijuana. Yet the legislature seems to do everything in their power to try to subvert the will of the people. This is a way of overcoming the corruption that we have all around us, in the legislature, in the courts, at every level of bureaucracy in government. This may be the start of a revolution which will overturn this corrupt system that we have. And there's many people inside of government, inside state government, politicians that would like to be on board, that are sick of the corruption, are sick of being frustrated in their desire to actually do the right thing. But there is so much corruption that it is difficult to try to fight that system within the system. And I happen to know, because just about everybody in my family works for the state of Michigan, and I can see the type of frustration that they have, and that good people are trying to do a good job, but they don't have the ability to do that. If we are able to reform the legal system, that's something that affects people right in their own hometown, right in their own lives. It makes more of a difference, and it will change people's lives more than political reform. It's certainly going to change your life more, if your local courthouse follows the law and follows the Constitution, than what government we have, or if we change the legislature, or who's going to be the next president. In fact, I see kind of a revolution coming, and not the kind of revolution where people take up arms against the strongest, most powerful military in the history of the world, but a type of revolution where people just decide that they're going to do the right things. And the kind of revolution where the president comes out with some obscene new law, and people's reaction is, ha, 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 that's funny, and they just simply ignore it and go on with their lives. If we actually have a legal system that follows the Constitution, follows the law, it's going to fundamentally change everybody's life. Does that make sense?
Ron, you're right. We do have a lot of good people out there that do want change and are still the way you say. I think we got some great ideals here. Ron's ideals are being enforced with that. You know, the movie Backspin coming out. All this in 2013. It's got to happen. There's got to be change. We go on like this.
Yeah, Ron, I realize we kept you on much longer than what we promised, but I have to say that everything you've said has been so pertinent and so to the point that I really didn't want to interrupt you.
Ron, thank you. I really want to thank you also for your time and explaining this in great detail for us, especially the listeners. You know, I think they kind of get an idea now. Went in really and explain things in layman's terms and all. And, appreciate that, and I'm glad you were here tonight.
Well, Ron, do you have any last bits of wisdoms you want to share with our audience before we end the show? Well, man, I think we might have lost Ron, so I'm going to end the recording. So thanks for everything, and Ron, if you're listening, you've been an outstanding guest, and you're welcome anytime on our show. Bye now.
Yes, thank you, Ron, from Stuntman Randy. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, David. And you all have a good night.
Good night.